Hey guys, so the emotional battleground that is dealing with nerves, dealing with stage fright. I had an experience yesterday of my own. Recently I've been doing quite a few live performances on YouTube and some on Twitch now. And I just found myself falling apart. Found myself, my mind consumed with doubt. Found my mind just fearful, basically. I wanted to talk about this battleground that happens in the mind and how we can angle it in our favor as best we can. What tends to happen is there's two frames of mind, basically. This isn't just within singing, this is just generally in life. There's this, and I'm going to talk kind of broad strokes here, not necessarily really specifically. You'll see what I mean. So there's this frame of mind that's more basically open, comfortable, calm, and allowing. It's free. The best thing I can compare it to, in terms of the best example of this, is if you go watch children below the ages of, between the ages of about 6 to 8 years old. They've got quite a lot of personality by that point. They're running around doing a lot of things. But also they will run around naked without thinking anything of it. They have like absolutely none of this other thing is in their head yet. All the stuff that we're going to talk about in this video comes after that age. It comes as we become self-aware in our teenage years, as we start to judge other people, as we start to feel that judgment on ourselves. All those kinds of things that develop in our teenage years, our values, the way we see ourselves, the way we see others, the judgments we make on others, the judgments we make about ourselves, the things that we aspire to be, the place where we see ourselves in life, all these kinds of things, they all develop after that young age. So all this junk that comes into your head as a singer, it's a learned thing. These are learned behaviors, learned thoughts, learned habits, learned attitudes. Let me just check I'm recording. Yeah. Don't want to go through this whole video and realize I haven't recorded it. So where was I? Yeah, so these are learned behaviors, learned thoughts. They're habits, basically. I like to think of them as thought habits. Now, depending on the kind of culture and the kind of family you've grown up with, as I've spoken about this before numerous times, you'll tend towards more of this closed, insular, defensive, fearful type of thinking. And basically what happens is at some point you show a bias either way. Some people grow up in an open, calm environment where there's little conflict, people get on well, you're open, you're allowed to fail, you're allowed to try, you're allowed to succeed, whatever it is. Conversely, a lot of us unfortunately grow up in environments where we're judged, other people are judged harshly. If you're not successful, you're judged harshly. Whatever it is, it tends to be attitudes that are based around fear, around doubt, around low self-esteem, this kind of thing. And these types of cultures in families tend to cycle around. So the children inherit it from the adults, and then when they have children, they pass it down. All of this is unconscious. People aren't thinking about it. It's just the circle of life. Cultures get passed from mother and father down to their children, and then so the cycle continues. So all that stuff's luck. Potluck, who knows where you were born, into what culture. Then when we come to sing, if we haven't learned to sing at a young age, we can then end up dealing with all that stuff creeping in every time we try and sing. And the battle that you face to deal with nerves, really deep down, the battle that you face is this battle of relearning how to be calm, comfortable and open as a human being. This will translate into your singing. As much as the technique's going to help, at the end of the day, if you aren't just able to express yourself openly and freely without fear of judgment and without judging yourself, that can be just as bad. You're going to always struggle as a singer. I see this with a lot of coaches. They're still in this cycle. They don't talk about these issues. I see this with a lot of struggling singers. Basically, all struggling singers have this problem to one degree or another. Now, to win the battle, what you're looking at is, and I go back to my experience yesterday. In the mind, you only really have one choice at any given time, really, is what you are thinking about, what you are focusing on. Now, whatever your dominant habit is, if you're focusing on judgment, if you're focusing on how well it's going, if you're focusing on how good you are, if you're focusing on people think I'm useless, people don't think I'm good, all these kinds of things will drag you off into that fear, into that doubt, into that inhibition, into that tension. Yeah, this is what creates a lot of the problems. If you are focusing on what you're doing, basically executing what you're doing without really any sense of is this going well, is this going badly, it allows you to move in towards that calm, open, comfortable type of mindset. Now, what I'm going to say is that it sounds easy on paper. Oh, well, I just focus on, I just focus on what I'm doing. I stay calm. I don't worry about what people think. I don't worry about if it's going well or badly. I don't judge myself if it goes badly or well. I just let it be and I just do what I need to do. The problem is that depending on the habits, the thought habits that you've established from a young age, you might try to focus on what you're doing, but you'll only be able to focus on what you're doing for a brief second, and then it will go back immediately to negativity and fear. And this is the battle you face at the start. It's not just a case of, oh, I need to focus on this. It's actually a case of establishing new thought patterns and new thought habits. And those thought habits, wherever they're cemented, wherever they've sat for a long time and been reinforced and reinforced, that is very difficult to break, because when you move away from it, your mind immediately wants to drag you back, because that's the cycle that's been there for a long time. The habit, basically the wiring in the brain, that's what we're talking about. So when we try and change that wiring, the new habit is very weak, and it takes conscious effort at first to drift away from the doubt and the fear and move towards the openness that we're talking about. At first, it's like you can only do it for a second, and then you go back to negativity. Over time, you start to move towards like a balance of the two, and this can be somewhat good and somewhat really annoying, because you feel, right, I get this now, I need to be in this mindset. Half the time you're there, but anything in performance that comes out the blue, or it's not going as well as you'd hope, drags you back, and so you've got this battle going on. It feels like this, you've got this like battle between two fists just punching each other constantly, and you can't get them apart. You're trying to there's this war going on in the mind where these two habits are both established. This is the problem naturals don't have, because the one habit they've got established was the right habit, the right thinking habits from the start, so they never have to face this battle. And like I said, this battle will affect your singing. So this is a unique problem to singers that learn from the wrong end, so to speak. From there, eventually the newer habit does become dominant, but you've still got that old memory. And that old memory can take years to dwindle away and evaporate. For me now, most of the time I'm in that calm, open, free state of mind. I'm not too bothered. But in certain situations, when I'm under particular stress, for example, yesterday, I was particularly concerned that people I know personally in my day-to-day life through work and at home and stuff might be tuning into my stream, because I happened to post about it on my Facebook account. Just that one thing got into my head and started to really screw me up, and all of a sudden I was on that spiral, and I felt that old memory coming back. And that old memory, unfortunately for me, was very, very different to where I'm at now. If you'd have known me 5-10 years ago, you'd have been meeting a different person, somebody that was insecure, somebody that was fearful, yeah? And so that old memory is still there. It's still part of me. And I feel that dragging in sometimes. It's just less frequently. But it can be all consuming. And I'm sure that, you know, I'm sure that natural great singers do have this issue. You know, they lose confidence. Their voice isn't there. Somebody makes a negative comment. Whatever it is. The point is that the baseline level of confidence that they have is towards the right direction. So even when they have that doubt and they go into that dark place, it's only momentary because the dominant habit is the good end of the spectrum, so to speak. So for them, they've got not that much to worry about because they'll always generally come back to that baseline level of confidence that they established from a young age. For me, I've always got to remind myself, I've got to drag myself in the right direction because that old memory lingers. And whilst it's dwindling away year by year, it's still there in the recesses of my mind, trying to drag me back to somebody that I don't want to be, quite frankly. Anyway, I enjoyed making this video, guys. Please comment, rate and subscribe. Tell me what you think about this issue, dealing with stage fright, dealing with fear, doubt in your singing, and just in general in life. I like to read your comments. I always enjoy that. Some of you really post some in-depth stuff and it's great to see. So I'll look forward to that. I'll see you in another video. Bye.